Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Two Perfect Podcasts. My name is Yzel.
My name is Renz.
And we're not perfect.
Two Perfect Podcast is dedicated to three things.
First, we are dedicated to sharing super personal stories about us and owning our imperfection.
Second, we want to create a safe space where we can be our most authentic selves.
And third, we want to build a community for people like us who are fed up with the pressure of trying to be perfect. And before we get started on today's episode, make sure you like, subscribe, follow. You can find us on YouTube, Two Perfect Podcasts. You can find us on every podcast streaming platform. Also, feel free to email us, twoperfectpodcasts@gmail.com. Let's connect, especially if you enjoy the content. Share it with your friends and family. And let's get the show on the road. Happy Filipino American History Month.
Yay!
So this whole month we're doing episodes that pertains to Filipino American culture, and I'm super excited about today's episode because it's really special.
Soups.
We are talking about something that truly makes me happy.
Soups.
Pagkain.
Food.
Kain na.
Let's eat.
I was waiting for you to translate. Yeah.
It took like 2 seconds to translate it. Yeah.
So if you are not familiar with Tagalog,
those are the translations.
It's just translated for you. So I think a great way to learn and appreciate culture is through food.
Yeah. I think a lot of people could relate with that because we all eat.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think everyone enjoys eating.
Food. Yeah. I think with really diving into a culture's food, you get to learn so much about that culture.
Yes.
And in the last episode, we talked about how diverse the Philippines is because you have a lot of just movement that go through the islands of different tribes and peoples and communities that come into the island. And it's, just so diverse. The languages are different. There are different food trends that come about because of the different people that settle on the islands. And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting how there's going to be a slight variant of the food depending on the region because, it's like thousands of islands. It's like we really just make food of what's available in the area.
Resourceful is the term. Resourceful. Yeah. And because I actually don't know the proximity of where our families are in the Philippines.
For you?
You and me, I mean.
You and me.
Like if we had a map and pinned how where close, our families, how close are we from one another? So it's because again, it's food is based on region. Yeah. And so different regions in the Philippines, different islands in the Philippines have a different take of a dish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Filipino food. Comment below. What's your favorite Filipino food? Comment below if you've never had Filipino food.
Ooh.
I'll email you some recipes.
It's super easy. Honestly, when I started cooking Filipino food for myself, I was like, wow, this is very doable for someone who is just a beginner.
Like a rookie. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What was the first Filipino dish that you learned how to cook?
On my own, I think I made nilag. Was it nilaga? I think so. I think it was nilaga.
I've never made that.
It's easy. You just boil everything.
I know.
Which is honestly what it translates to, right? Nilaga just means boiled.
We're really good at coming up with names in the Philippines. More often than not, it's going to be the literal thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we call it.
Yeah. It's interesting for me because when I did light research, the first thing that they actually talked about was rice. It was centuries ago, but it it's interesting to me because it's kanin, which is so close to the word eat, kain. So to me, I was just like, is there a correlation? Because it's like that's what was most abundantly available for us. So it's just like we ate it. So we literally just said kanin.
Kanin.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys are also going to be learning Tagalog words today.
Of course. Because you really cannot avoid it because, you know, my favorite food is sinigang. And we were talking about it earlier. And honestly, not until I did the research for this episode did I find out that just means to stew.
To stew.
And I'm like, are you freaking serious?
I know, when you told me that today, my mind was blown. I was like, wow, we're so good at naming things.
Literal.
Yeah, let's make it as literal as possible because that's going to make it easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
And which made me like, no, duh, because everything else that we eat is just straight to the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what is something you would recommend for someone to try if they've never had Filipino food?
Jollibee.
Shout out to Jollibee.
For real, right? It just really depends on the person. Because I guess, like, you know, for me, when I recommend stuff, I try to maximize the joy they're going to receive. So it's like, if I know they like this kinds of dishes, I would recommend something close to that. So, like, let's say they love tom yum.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, dude, like, try sinigang, because maybe there's a little similarity. Yeah, there's like that sour tone. It's soup, you know, so it's a little familiar. Or if, like, I guess usually for me, if I don't know them very well, I go for adobo a lot because that's the most like popular thing that people know of.
There's so many different ways to make adobo, though.
True.
So many different ways.
True.
I think also because it's such an old dish that there's all these centuries of being recreated to different palates, you know? Yeah. Someone in one family is going to be like, oh, I did something different, and then it just gets kind of like
all the time,
passed down. And I feel like, I don't know, do you like dry adobo better or soupy adobo?
Depends on the feels, to be honest, because I like it both. I think I tend to, I don't know if it's just something I tend to, or it's just the thing that I get a lot, where it's like the soupier adobo. So that's what I'm used to. But honestly, I kind of make it slightly drier. How about you?
I like the soupy adobo better, but my dad makes awesome, like, dry adobo. It's so freaking good. But my preference is a little bit soupier. I don't want it to be like a pot
full of soup. Yeah.
Soup. I want it to be like a
some
good
drizzle.
just a good, like, in the pot, like, I want it full, like, maybe a quarter of the way. That's like enough soup.
To me, it would just be enough, like, when you go get the spoon and you just, like, you know, you could just pick up a spoonful and you just drizzle in the rice. And, like, to me, it's like, because I don't like it too much sauce. Yeah, not too much sauce.
I really like the sauce, so I typically like a lot of sauce. Yeah, but I do like both. Do you know the history of adobo?
Not that well.
I just know that cooking with vinegar was extremely popular, especially in like island countries, to preserve.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much all I know.
Same.
But I know that adobo was something that became like popular in the 1600s, I think. And then and now we have this awesome dish.
Yeah.
But, you know, like Spanish adobo, like when people say adobo, but they're not from the Philippines, it's such a different taste.
Yeah.
And that makes me curious.
Yeah, me too.
What's that about? Why the fuck didn't we look into that?
I know. It's funny because I looked at everything. Maybe it's because, like, adobo was such a obvious thing. I was just like, I don't want to look up adobo. But that's also the same thing why we're also heavy on soups.
Yeah.
So before refrigeration and stuff like that, we tend to boil a lot of things to just kill diseases because we're like, yeah, we can't preserve this stuff, so we'll just have to reboil it
prior to like refrigeration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is adobo also means something that's like to stew?
So yeah, adobo it's derived from the Spanish word adobar, meaning marinade. Yeah, so it just means like the meat is going to be
marinated.
Yeah. So marinating meat with different mixtures like vinegar, salt, garlic, paprika, and oregano was common to Spanish cooking. I think honestly it's that oregano that's such a different.
Because we don't have that in the Philippines.
Yeah, we're not using that. But there's so many different types of adobo.
And that's why for us it becomes like just that bay leaf, pepper, cinnamon,
bay leaf,
vinegar.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said cinnamon. Vinegar and soy sauce.
To your adobo, let me know how it tastes.
Sorry. Just like she said, cinnamon. She's authentic.
Make sure you put a whole stick and just let that shit rock.
And then let us know how that tastes, please, because I ain't tried it.
Yeah. If you had to list your least favorite Filipino dish,
what would it be? Damn, that's a hard question. Just because if it's my least favorite, I probably don't think about it often. So it's like, for me to know the answer, I'd be like, But there's definitely certain foods that I don't really eat. So, like earlier, I was like talking about sotanghon. That was like a thing I never ate.
Yeah.
Not that I hated it, but it's definitely like on the farther spectrum of like, I'm good,
Yeah.
Sometimes, to be honest, pancit was there. Like, I wasn't like the biggest fan of pancit. Like, I will eat it, but there was like, there's no real love. I'm like, I don't tell people like, yeah, I love pancit.
I know.
It's like, it's not a thing I just ever say, which is weird because a lot of people's food introduction to the Philippines is like pancit. Yeah.
Because it's noodles. And noodles are like, I don't know, I guess easy to accept when coming from an Asian country. There's so many versions of pancit.
Yeah.
Like, even palabok, I wasn't the biggest fan of. I love pancit at a specific point in my life when I was young. Like, because that was something we had only really for parties, So if we had pancit, it's like, oh, yay, like, we're having a party.
Yeah.
Because nobody was cooking that shit, for dinner. Like,
yeah, no one cooks that for just that.
Yeah, it's a celebratory dish. But I think after, I don't know, like 8 years old, I just got tired of it.
Me too.
Right? Around that age, I was like, I'm tired of these fucking noodles, bro.
Yeah, maybe because it's always was available. I don't know. For me, it was always available because, when you go to like the Turo Turo place, which is just like
the little like
store where you literally it means to point.
Yeah, point.
You just point at the food you want, and that's what you're buying. So we get a lot of those. So I had it. I feel like it's just always there.
That's true.
My dad will always bring it home too. So to me, it's just like it just lost its specialty. So I never really said those out loud because it makes me feel like
you're betraying our culture. I know, because so many non-Filipinos are like, oh, you're Filipino. Oh, I love pancit.
And I'm like, yeah, you should. You should. That's great. Good for you.
That's my least favorite, bro. I don't know. But I love my tita's pancit. That's the difference. If my tita Chet made it, that's just bomb.
Yeah. I remember you tried to get the recipe.
She don't fucking know, bro. I was like, hey, what do you put in there? She said carrots. Fucking She told me the noodles. She told me fucking all just the ingredients,
but not like how much, when.
She don't know. She's like, oh yeah, I don't measure. I'm like,
of course not. You really don't. Like, that's the thing about Filipino cooking, or any cooking that I do. There's no measurements. It's just really feeling it out. Just like, yep, needs more of this, needs more of that.
Tasting along the way, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you know about pancit historically?
That it's influenced by the Chinese.
We got noodles from China.
Yeah, we did. China gave everyone noodles, first of all. That's how we all got pasta.
Facts.
So, and actually, pancit came from, I'm going to butcher this because I just read it, so I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's pianisit, Pianisit. So it originates from that term.
Like
pianisit.
Like pancit.
Yeah, basically they said
that's the way Filipinos took it. Oh, yeah, pancit. Okay,
pancit. Yeah, which just means to cook quickly, to cook conveniently, to cook as fast as possible. So that's the origin of the word pancit.
Okay.
Yeah, and ever since then, we just started serving it.
That was a long
birthday
time ago,
parties.
For sure.
For sure.
And I think that is also why there's a lot of variations of it.
Yes.
Because it's had time to develop over centuries.
Yes.
So what are we going to do with this dish?
Exactly.
Let's add this. Let's take away that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we don't have those type of noodles. Then
which is your favorite type of noodles?
For pancit?
Yeah.
Actually, I know. It's been... My relationship with pancit has changed because it was like my least favorite, and now it's like I like it sometimes depending on where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I really like Manila Sunset's palabok, so y'all check that place out. Love that place.
Plug.
I feel like I also really like bihon was... I know it's very popular, but I'm okay
That's
with that.
The most popular. If you've had pancit, anytime someone says, oh, I've had pancit, I always assume they're talking about bihon.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's honestly, for me, it's the mixture of like the pancit canton / bihon. I think I like that texture when it's like both thick and thin. I don't know the word.
Should be knowing, because that's my fucking favorite. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. We're literally looking at my phone and looking at the different type of pancit. There's literally 100 on here. There's so many.
There's just too many.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, but definitely my favorite as of now is the pancit canton and bihon
combo.
Medley. Yeah.
Me too. I don't know what I'm sure that's also called something else.
Oh, for sure. There's a name for that. Comment below. Comment below if you know the name. We're obviously ignorant as fuck.
We say this every episode.
This is why we're doing this. Hopefully we can connect with you and you know some things you can teach us. So, what else? What else did you learn in your research?
In my research, because we obviously also got some influence from India. Ooh. So then I started researching about what that means, because then they gave us some spices, but eventually it didn't really stick. It wasn't something that we got a lot of, so even then we had to diverge, which became the Filipino curry, which is kare-kare.
Yes.
Because they just heard curry, which is their
It's
Sanskrit.
What it's from.
Exactly. It's what it is. So they were like, kare-kare? So we're like, yeah, kare-kare. So, but we didn't have turmeric, we didn't have the spices, and then we ended up substituting it for anato and coconut, which gave way to also ginataan, which is that's why it's also on the curry side aspect of the Filipino dish.
Those are my favorite dishes, actually. Ooh. Some of my favorite dishes, because my original favorite dish was sinigang when I was like a child.
Of course.
And yeah, but as I've grown older, I love kare-kare, I love ginataan, which is weird because it has coconut milk and I'm allergic.
Yeah. So you just like battle it through, huh? You just like itchy face. It's worth it. I love this.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know how people are crazy when they're like
lactose intolerant
or allergic to shellfish.
Yup,
but like it's good.
Put themselves through their pain. No, it's not that bad. So, if I have coconut products, I don't.
You good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna die or anything. But yeah. What?
I don't know.
We didn't talk about Sinigang, actually, like the origin, the history,
because
we talked about stew.
Yeah.
Which is, I didn't know that until today.
Mm-hmm. I think the origins of Sinigang goes way back, like pre-Columbus, like pre-colonial, pre-colonial Philippine times. It's I think during our research it said it's original Tagalog dish, which makes sense because before then all we really did was put meat in fire and we ihaw, which is we grill. That's also like another pre-colonial Philippine food. And for sinigang, I think it's just that. So it's either we put it in fire or we made soup. Those were like the two things we kind of did. And then the Chinese gave us saute method. So that's when we started sauteing things.
Yeah, I read that with...
Like, it's usually just means...
tamarind.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to fucking say.
Yeah.
So I learned today reading that it wasn't always tamarind, even though that is typically what we think of when we think
sinigang. It's the
sinigang.
original now, yeah.
That is... because sinigang is like a sour soup, so we use tamarind to create that sour taste, primarily. And that has been my belief my whole life until I looked it up and saw that that was a substitute for what it truly is. And I'm forgetting what it truly was that they were using. Some kind of plant, I think. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I think it was some kind of plant or something. Yeah. And tamarind was just easier. to produce and ship and stuff like that. But... now it makes me curious, like, what does the actual sinigang taste like? That's not tamarind. Because now you think of it, it's like it's just a substitute, right?
Yes, I think about it as a substitute, but to me, I actually didn't grow up thinking sinigang just means tamarind because, I had sinigang na miswa, which is miso. And then I also my mom really also likes like it with guava, which is actually didn't come there until like the Gillian trading starts to happen.
See, I've never had that.
Never? Yeah, so I had a lot of different types of sinigang, and also they're also really good. So it's sour in a different way.
Yeah, it's going to achieve a different type of sourness, especially if it's not tamarind. I feel like tamarind produces a very distinct type of sourness. Yeah, definitely. Sure. So,
yeah, we can do that. Because, like, honestly, I also really like the other ones, especially with fish. That's the one my mom likes to make with miso. That one's also like really good with like the fish heads, and I'm just like, yum 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 yum.
I love salmon. Sinigang is my favorite for sure. Lumpia is also a dish that I recommend to people who've never had Filipino food. I think it's I think it's like easier for people to receive because egg rolls.
Yeah. I agree. Which is honestly, for the most part, I think a lot of people are also very familiar with it already. Like, if I have to think of the three foods that people are very familiar with, it would be adobo, pancit, lumpia.
Yes.
Because it's just like, it's every party. We usually have those.
What would you cook for someone that has never had Filipino food. And they're like, Renz, what's a dish from your culture that I should try that you can make for me?
Nothing, man. Just kidding.
I got one. Dinuguan.
You ain't down for this.
They won't be. I will.
Right? Yeah. It's delicious for me. Steven actually asked me, he's just like, can you cook dinuguan? And I'm like, I've never tried, but I probably can.
Yeah.
I can try for you if you want.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's the first thing I would try to make someone because I've never made it before.
Same.
So I will have to make it first to make sure that I can do it good.
I haven't had dinuguan in a really long time.
Me too. Actually.
I can't remember the last time I had dinuguan, actually. Do you want to explain what dinuguan is?
Yeah, we should give a background to it. So dinuguan is a dish. It literally means blood. And it's pork's blood. Pork blood stew.
Delicious.
Yeah. So it's usually made with pork and like the offals. It's like a lot of my research, that's also like what they say a lot. Filipinos are very resourceful. We don't like to waste any parts of the meat, so we will cook with it. Yeah, so that even comes with like blood. We're like, let's put that shit on stew.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know, like, I think one of the articles that I read always kind of talks about Filipino food in that light, where it's more of like,
what's
like I dare you, or it's a dare because it's like it can be looked at as extreme, you know, because it's like, oh, have you heard of balot, which is
so basically it's a fetus.
Yeah.
Of a. Is it a chicken?
It's usually a chicken, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So it's a
chicken for sure.
Chick fetus basically is what it is. It's fucking delicious.
It is pretty good. So it's always seen it in that lens where it's like fear factor almost, because it's like
it's so exotic.
Yeah, like I dare you to.
It's so different from what we eat in the West that we probably shouldn't be eating, or it's not probably something we can eat on a normal basis.
Yeah, like, you know, it's meant to make people feel kind of grossed out almost, or like you need some sort of bravery in order to like enjoy the dish, when in reality it's freaking delicious.
Yeah.
It's not like, ew, this is gross. Like, I could name other weirder flavor profile that Filipinos have in dishes that probably won't fly here.
Yeah, like what?
Like ampalaya.
Oh yeah, bitter melon.
Bitter melon stuff, like things more on like the bitter side, because I know like Asian cultures, we love that. So to me, it's just like that's harder for some people to embrace.
That's true. I didn't even think about ampalaya.
Yeah, because
I haven't thought about that dish in a long time.
Because a lot of it doesn't get the spotlight, you know. It's not your sinigang, which is your comfort food. It's not adobo, that's like the national dish that's like everyone's talking about.
Yeah,
it's just your everyday healthy foods. Because like that's the only time I really eat ampalaya is when my family would make it, or I get it at the turo-turoan place, you know.
Yeah, that I don't think that's something that I would make personally.
I also have not made it personally because no one loves it like that.
Yeah. I don't even love it like that. I mean, I like it. I don't love it.
Yeah. I grew to like it a lot. Eventually, as I got older, I feel like my palate changed. So I really enjoy bitter stuff. Yeah. So I like it.
So I don't think you answered your question about cooking for.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know. Oh wait, I think, did you answer this already?
The cooking one?
No, was that a conversation we had already?
Just a conversation we had. I don't think I answered it because I was just like, it depends, you know? I just said it depends.
Yes.
And then you said, oh, I know what I would make, which is dinuguan, and then we got
sidetracked.
All sidetracked with the dinuguan conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe, honestly, some sort of ginataan. I don't know. Like, maybe shrimp. Maybe even, like, some sort of meat. I don't know. But typically, the dishes that I usually cook, because I only cook like a couple Filipino dish for myself. Everything else I eat outside.
Mm-hmm.
So that's only sinigang, nilaga, ginataan once in a while, adobo, of course. And I think that might be it. What else do we usually cook? Filipino spaghetti. Yeah, Filipino spaghetti gets made because my mom will ask. So I'll cook that for her. And I think that's it because I don't really cook a lot of like Filipino food. Maybe like a breakfast dish, like a tapsilog or something.
Oh, let's talk about breakfast.
We haven't even gotten to
Talk about breakfast, bro. Breakfast in the Philippines is magnificent. It's absolutely the best.
Yeah.
The garlic fried rice is to start. You got to make sure your plate has garlic fried rice. You're basically taking old rice. It has to be old. Again, we're resourceful. Yeah. So you got to take
leftovers.
You don't throw out that old rice that's in the fridge. It's all like, cold and
like hardened. It's dry at this point.
It's dry. Yeah. You want to make sure you use that. Don't throw it out. Throw it in a hot pan and fry up some garlic.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the reason why I always just make a lot of rice to begin with. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't love a good fried rice?
Facts.
And to me, earlier you asked me what's the first Filipino dish I ever made. Well, I guess that's probably fried rice. Fried rice and egg.
Garlic fried rice.
When I was younger, I didn't do too much. It's just like whatever's at home. So it's just like, oh, there's leftover rice. Easy. Let me saute some garlic.
Make it. Yeah.
Literally, a child can make it.
Exactly. And children we do make it. Yes, we did make it. But yeah, so the different Filipino breakfasts.
Yeah.
I know I just hyped up the rice, but
that's the main component.
You need great backup singers for the main vocalist to truly shine.
Exactly. Honestly, let's be real, Rice is the main. She is the lead. Like I said, it's the first thing when I researched about food history in the Philippines. That's literally the first thing they said.
Got in.
Yeah, it's like
that's true.
The first thing we found out.
They might be the lead vocalist.
They've been.
So what were we saying?
Because that's always how it felt like to me, kanin and ulam, which means rice and the dish. Mm-hmm. But to me, it always felt like the
rice
dish
is
was
not
the side dish.
A side.
It wasn't.
Rice is the main bitch, and you need to make sure you kick it with her every day, 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You better have your main bitch rice. Because she's the one
that's
and
her.
not the two. But here, rice is a side.
I know.
She's a side
piece. Y'all think she is side piece.
And the main is, whatever protein. Yeah.
Which makes sense because, there's a lot more resources here. And then in the Philippines, it's like, that's the main resource, the rice.
The main, yeah.
But anyway, before we end up talking about rice,
let's talk about breakfast. Rice. Yeah.
I love Filipinos because we always just be too much with the names. You know what I'm saying? It's either it's literal or we jamming everything and making it into one word.
Yes, we love to do that. We even do that with names. A lot of names are just too
mishmash everything. Yeah. So the reason I'm saying that is because there's these rice plates that we just hand short to everything like tapsilog, long silog, daing silog. And honestly, that just means it's like we took the first couple words like tapsilog. It's tapa, itlog, and sinigang, which means tapa is the meat, itlog is the egg, and sinigang is fried rice. And we literally were just like, tapsilog!
Yeah, easy.
Easy peasy. Give me one tapsilog. And we did that for all of the breakfast rice items.
Because they all have fried rice, they all have fried egg, and then you just change out the different meat.
The meat, yeah.
What's your favorite?
Ooh, damn. I say this all the freaking... The whole place. It depends. Because honestly, I love them all. I think for me, I've grown to really like the fish stuff. So bangus.
Bangus is the shit.
Bangus
Milkfish?
is, yes. Yeah. Like, I love that shit for
We
breakfast.
have that shit for breakfast, bro. If you're listening, I mean, what? You are listening.
I hope you're listening.
We eat milkfish for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we need that energy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So... I don't know, but when I was younger, obviously I love like the longanisa, because it's like, how can you not like longanisa as a child? It's sweet sausage.
Yes.
You know, so tapa and longanisa were like my
Do you know how longanisa is made?
Cured pork stuffed in meatery. I assume just like how a sausage is made, but it just has sugar.
I don't know, so I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Longanisa is a local sausage or chorizo. It is commonly served for breakfast. Okay, yes, we know that. Yes, but how do you make it? Because it's got a very distinct sweet flavor, and it's got savory. It's just so freaking delicious.
Yeah, I don't even know, because never once in my life thought, oh, I'm gonna make some longanisa from scratch today. Maybe I should.
Yes. Okay, so this person's making this shit from scratch.
Yeah, makes sense. That's like, is that a natto for the coloring with brown sugar, soy sauce?
So it's the brown sugar. So ground pork. Ground pork, brown sugar, garlic, soy sauce,
paprika,
coconut vinegar.
A lot of those, yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, that might be my favorite, but I love a good corned beef.
Yes.
Oh, you guys, corned beef. Ugh.
Yeah.
Obsessed. I was obsessed with it as a kid, and I'm still obsessed with it now.
Same. There's just something, you know, that happened when the Americans came and they gave us all these canned foods that were like, yes, this is it.
Let's hype this shit up, because I don't know how the fuck they're eating it, but the way we fucking fry that shit with garlic,
like,
my dude,
it's so good.
Ooh, mine. When I put the potatoes and the corned beef and the garlic and the onions together, and it's just working together in harmony, it's
scrumdiddlyish.
Chef's kiss with some
Yum.
garlic fried rice. If you didn't eat before this podcast, I hope you're eating now.
I know.
And I hope you're eating Filipino food.
I know, because that's what I'm hoping.
Yes.
That's what I'm wishing. That's what I want. Now that you brought up like corned beef, I still remember when corned beef was introduced to me. It was so delicious.
Yes.
It was at my cousin's house. I was probably like 3. And I'm like, this is so freaking good. It's so freaking good.
I think we all have that fucking experience with corned beef. It comes into your life and it just changes you forever.
Yeah.
You're like a fucking new person. You've reached like a metamorphosis, because you're like, corned beef.
You know, what is this? What is this?
Yan! Sarap.
Like, literally, I remember being obsessed with it, and like, I needed to tell my mom. Because I'm like, Mom, please put this shit in my life. Like, I need more of this. And I was like a picky eater when I was like younger. Yeah. So she was like, oh, fucking finally something this child
You found something that works. Yeah. I also can't remember the difference between menudo and
afritada?
Yeah.
Caldereta? Yeah, all of them.
What's the difference? I know one of them uses different
they're all basically tomato based, but there's some stuff added
in it that makes it and gives it a completely different name.
Yeah. I think menudo specifically has like pork and like the liver stuff with the raisins and the carrots and stuff like that. That's specifically menudo. Afritada is usually with chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of like a looser sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's not as thick.
Yeah, it's not as thick. And caldereta is usually with goat, lamb, or beef.
Yeah.
But they're all in that like
it's
tomato
the same
base.
Tomato taste.
Yes.
So you have kind of a similar flavor profile that you're getting, but I don't like liver.
Yeah.
I mean, is it liver?
There's liver.
I hate liver.
I think one of them, is it afritada?
Again, there's so comment many. Below if you know, because obviously we're ignorant. We don't know.
We not good. This is like why
we just love to eat. I don't know what we're eating, but it tastes delicious. So
yeah, I think it's the caldereta, or no, it's I don't know. One of them has like the pate too, so they cook it with it. I think menudo just has like the liver chunks.
Don't like that.
Yeah.
Don't like that. Don't like
me
that.
Either. Ugh. I remember that was like the battle for me when every time I eat menudo, because you're like, ooh, this piece of pork looks so good. You put it in your mouth, it's a freaking liver, and I'm like, ugh. Those are the words.
You think it's like a big meaty piece.
Yeah.
No, bitch, it's liver.
It's liver.
Get your life. Get your iron.
Yeah, like, no shade. You know, I like liver every once in a while. Like, I like pate. Never. And I like liver spreads. But it's like something about like liver and minute, like, you know, the bigger ones. Like, I just can't. Like, it's the texture for me. I can't.
It's the texture for me.
Literally, and that's why it's like the ultimate betrayal, because like, you know, I'm like,
you are literally thinking that it's going to be something else, and then it gets in your mouth and it's a completely different experience from what you anticipated, and it's just
the betrayal,
pure disappointment, pure betrayal. I
can't handle.
But if that's what you like, that's what you like. You know, that's just my own personal preference. So you know, we all can like different things.
Yeah. You can have my liver. You can have my liver. Not like the liver I have in me, because that is not good, honestly. You
don't want this one. You don't want this one.
It's damaged.
But as far as Filipino food goes, I read that is something Filipinos don't really assimilate, is the food. I think we talked about it in the last episode, is that Filipinos are considered to be like the most assimilated in the Asian American subgroups. And we're like okay to assimilate to different like values and just cultural like ways, but food is something that we hold very special. And that we don't typically change. Yeah. At least that's what I read on Wikipedia.
So take it with a grain
of salt. It's facts. You know, it's true.
When it's coming from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I read too, like there's some articles that even when they do get in the spotlight, they don't necessarily cook it either. It's more like lutong bahay, which means like to cook at home. And that's why it's not spreading like wildfire in comparison to like other restaurants, you know?
Yes.
So that kind of makes sense. Kind of.
That does make sense.
Because like I think the article that I was reading kind of questions like why Filipino restaurants haven't been like a very big deal here in the United States, even though we're the second largest population here. You know, so
because we cook that shit at home, baby.
Exactly.
We cook that shit at home. Exactly. I think there's also, I think in LA, because it's
there's
LA,
more, yeah.
There's a lot of Filipinos here. We do, fortunately, have more and more Filipino restaurants options, and also like Filipino fusions and whatnot. Sometimes I'll see like Filipino adobo, like wings or just like, you know, different stuff like that. But I think because of the different variation of the way that Filipinos cook things, maybe that can lead to apprehension of like, oh, I like it. I'm going to make it the way I like it. So it's not seen as like restaurant quality per se, because it's like, oh, well, I don't know if the general masses are going to appreciate this, because I know this is only from like my region.
Yeah.
Because there's thousands of islands in the Philippines. So there's thousands of different ways that we can cook these dishes, and everyone has kind of their own way that they like it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's not the same like Thailand, because I know they had their own agenda. They were really pushing for the Thai restaurant market to boom nationally, internationally, I meant.
Yeah.
So what they ended up doing is really putting it down to the T. Like, this is what's supposed to be, like what a pad thai is supposed to taste like. So this is what you guys need to recreate. And I think it, like, if you
there was like a collective movement in Thailand.
Yeah, to push it. So like, I think in Alaska, there's like 5 Thai restaurants, even though the Thai population there is not pretty high or something like that, and they talk about it's contributing to that. So it's like, maybe if the Philippines also pushed for something like that, if it's just like quote unquote one generalized thing, it would be an easier movement to like market it and palette it to
the
masses. Yeah,
I don't really like that though.
Me either.
I like the fact that there's thousands of different ways to create a dish.
Me too.
I'd be very interested to travel to different parts of the Philippines, like in Mindanao. Like, of course, they're going to do things very, very differently, just to see like what the differences in the way that I got it when I was growing up to, yeah.
And what's interesting too is like, when I went back to the Philippines, like, I eat Filipino food a lot and it's delicious here, but when I went back to the Philippines, the ingredients are just so much fresher, because, obviously that's where the ingredients are coming from. Here, we're eating it like flash frozen stuff, like certain vegetables. Like, we just can't get it here because it can't grow here. So it just kind of changes it. Like, I remember I had like ginataan with like the small tiny shrimps, and it's only like available in the Philippines, and it was so good, freaking delicious. And then there was even, or I went to like, I forgot what they're called, but it's like table to farm kind of thing, and they farm to table. That's the other way around. We go there. Anyways, they raised their own chickens, so they gave us like fried egg with like nilaga soup. And honestly, I was just like, this is the best fried egg I've ever had in my life, because it was just like so fresh. So I was just like, wow, I wish different. I could have this.
It's very different. It is, and also the conditions that the chickens here grow in are horrendous.
Yeah.
So they're not doing that in the Philippines. No. Caging them, and I think the quality of the animal's life affects the taste.
Like the stressors that we put in these animals, especially because they're also they have they inject them with hormones, steroids, and stuff like that, so they can get bigger.
That affects their taste, which sounds so strange. I know, but that's just truth.
It's truth, because like, how else is that chicken so much better? How is that egg? It's literally, they just fried an egg, put it on my rice, and I'm just like,
that's
it. Freaking delicious.
And it can win awards.
Yeah.
And she's so plain. She's so basic.
I'm still talking about it.
She still remembers that one egg.
I literally do. So I would suggest, definitely when you guys visit like the Philippines, there's a lot of tourist stuff. There's a lot of places to eat in terms of restaurants, but definitely check out those like farm to table places.
Yes. The simple dish my dad made for me, I'm pretty sure this was in the Philippines, or maybe it was here. I don't remember. I was very, very young, but he made me tomato and egg.
Ooh.
Okay, listen. I heard from a friend, I heard from Steven that this is like a Chinese dish, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
But my dad makes it like no other. Mm-hmm. He says he taught me how to make it, but
gone.
I swear he puts other things in there because anytime I make tomato and egg, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Mm-hmm. What the hell is it, Dad? Tell me the truth.
Give it to her.
Give me the recipe. But, tomato and egg I fucking love tomato and egg.
It's so good.
It's so freaking good. And I don't know if that's a Filipino dish. We just like cooking with eggs, though.
We do love cooking with eggs.
And that's my shit.
Because, if you think about ampalaya.
Yeah.
Honestly, again, ampalaya could translate to just bitter melon, but it's also a dish.
Yes.
When I say ampalaya, do you also think of the one with eggs?
Yes,
and
that's
tomato.
That's the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I'm not thinking of bitter melon.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's basically essentially the same thing. It's just it doesn't have bitter melon. I don't know what it's called when there's no bitter melon in it. I think it's just called ginisa.
I have no idea.
Egg. Because that's just what it is. You just saute the egg and the tomato.
There is a name for it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
There's a name for it. I don't know. Comment below.
It's goodness.
Educate me.
I know. Because it's that's the one that's it's so homegrown. I don't even really ask for it. I just know I like it. It's one of those things that I forget I like it until my mom makes it. I'm I love this simple
I fucking
food.
love this. Tomato and egg. Yeah. Hell yeah. Feed this to me every day.
Yeah.
It's so freaking good. I made it the other day. Mm-hmm. Not the same. I don't know what the hell my dad's doing. Of course not. He's putting some shit in there. He's not telling me. I swear. I remember him very vividly teaching me. He's taking the tomatoes, chopping them. I remember that experience with him where he teaches me how to make it. But I swear he lied that day. I swear he lied. He skipped out on a
crucial. It's the love.
Something. Maybe it's the love.
Yeah, it's the love. You didn't capture the love.
Or maybe it's just a different freshness of the
maybe it's not a super ripe tomato.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but it is because honestly, Jackie also really loves tomato and egg. Mm-hmm. I think for the Chinese version, or because I've seen his mom make it, and I was this is just ginisang. Mm-hmm. This is just what I eat, but it's a little bit more liquidy. It's a lot more fused in together. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel the Filipino dish is a little bit more dry. Yeah. So that's the difference between the Chinese tomato and egg and the Filipino tomato and egg for me. Mm-hmm.
I love that in the Philippines we have basically so many dishes from other parts of the world that have influenced us, but we see as ours.
Yeah.
Because it is.
We made it! Because that's what it is,
We have our own twist to it, our own version, and that's Filipino food.
Yeah. I think the difference mainly is the fish sauce. I don't know if Chinese cooking really puts heavily on fish sauce. Maybe certain parts of China does. Mm-hmm. But the tomato and egg recipe that I made for Jackie, I didn't call for fish sauce, but I added anyway because it's my twist and take. And I think that's what makes it Filipino now because we're there's fish sauce now. So it is ours. That's the difference. And that's just the evolution of food, right? You go somewhere, you introduce it to some people, and they're
they switch it up somehow, make it more of their region, and then it's theirs. Because they've been doing it for hundreds of years, so their kids and kids and kids and kids, and the generations that are born making that dish, they're oh, this is what my grandma, my great-great-grandma, so
how are you to say it's not ours? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads me to Lechon. Because we talked about Lechon. Or did we?
Earlier.
Personally.
Yeah, personally we did.
Yeah. So I actually...
Which is another big one that most people know. And most people are familiar with.
Yes. Yeah. If you've ever been to a Filipino fiesta...
And there's no lechon,
it's not a fiesta.
You have to go.
It ain't no party. They ain't Filipino. I don't know where you're at. That's not one of us. We don't claim them. Because... it's not a real party without lechon. Yeah. If there's no lechon, it's not really a party. It's a get together.
It's a get together. Yes.
Yes. It's a get together.
It's a kickback. You're at a kickback.
You're kicking back. maybe you'll do a little bit of karaoke. Maybe you'll do a little bit of like games.
Yeah.
Have some music and laughs, and it might feel like a fiesta, but it ain't no fiesta without the lechon.
The whole lechon, like the whole one in the stick with the apple on the mouth.
Yup.
That's what you need to see. That's how you know it's gonna get cracking.
Yup. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a night to remember. So I actually used to not like lechon.
Really, growing up?
When I was a kid, I didn't like pork. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really eat a lot of pork. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because my parents weren't really big on pork. So it just was something I really didn't enjoy until later on in life. I think until I hit like my preteens, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe even my teenage years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of remembered that about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, even in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I know it's like you ate it, but
I wasn't the biggest
thing. Because I know you really like seafood and stuff like that. So
I was a vegetarian for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, yeah, but I love seafood. But pork is one of those things that now I can enjoy a bit more. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually having kind of a weird thing with meat. I'm actually getting a little bit disgusted by it.
Yeah, same.
You are?
Yeah, because like sometimes I just go through some periods where I'm like, I don't want to eat meat. I just want to be a little bit full.
I'm sick of meats. Mm-hmm. I haven't had an opportunity to really truly enjoy meat. Even like, I hung out with my family this past weekend. Yes, the food was good, but I was really not in full enjoyment of it, which is, I hate it because I know the food is freaking
want it,
and I know I'm gonna regret it. I'm gonna be like, later. Why didn't I enjoy it fully? But I truly was like, I was really like, okay, like kind of forcing myself to finish it, but in my mind I was like, oh, it's kind of gross.
Yeah, that's also just how I felt too. It's just, I think it's just the attitude here in America and how we see meat and protein and how you have to kind of have just like a lot of amount of it has made me, it's just like, it's too much. It's overconsumption. So to me, it's just like, I eat too much of it that the thought of eating more is just like, no, it's not appealing to me.
It's not appealing.
So sometimes I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get like the vegetables. And that's why when we went to Panda the other day, I'm like, just give me more of like the beef and broccoli and just the mushroom chicken, because I can't look at like just the plain meats.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I can't
enjoy it. Yeah.
Like sometimes, honestly,
that's why I couldn't even finish I never finished Panda, but
the teriyaki chicken,
the chickens. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. After all, I was like, ugh, I don't want to eat this.
Because I was like thinking that too, because like I always get like popcorn, not popcorn chicken, the orange chicken, which is honestly, it's so delicious. I freaking love it. But just the thought of the amount of meat. So to me, I'm definitely in that grind right now. The other day, I actually just like blanch some water spinach, which is, what is that? That's not sitaw. That's kangkong. Yeah, because like I was like talking to my mom about like the vegetarian options for Filipino food, and I'm like, honestly, because my mom is similar, she's just like, I'm tired of eating meat. I just want something healthy. So I was like, I've actually been craving when we went to Adrian's graduation, and she just had that plate of like grilled okra with like the kangkong and the string beans. I'm like, honestly, that's all I ate because the meat was just overwhelming me. That's why going to Keats today is not appealing, because we're gonna have Korean barbecue. So I'm like, oh, meat. So that's what it is. But anyway, long tangent. I've always loved lechon.
Lechon kawale.
Lechon kawale, lechon.
Yes.
Lechon it up. Well, we also found out today is an original Tagalog food.
Yes.
This is pre-colonial stuff.
I wonder what the actual name is, because lechon is
Spanish. Yeah.
And so they also cook pig like that, because that's what it is. Lechon is pig, pork. And so...
Isn't it just mean to roast? Because that's what it means in Tagalog. It's not necessarily talking about pork.
I don't know.
You could actually have...
When I hear lechon, I think of pork.
Yeah, because that's just what it is. But my mom told me, it's like, honestly, though, lechon just means to roast. So you could roast lechon... I think it's like lechon manok or something like that, which just means...
Oh, yeah, duh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it's literally, we call a lot of things lechon, but it doesn't stick to it. Yeah. That's why it became pork.
Lechon pork.
Pork.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the roasted animal meat. If you're vegetarian, so sorry, my dude.
It's really limiting though, like what you could have as vegetarian / vegan option for the Philippines.
Filipino food is not healthy.
It is not.
It's not healthy.
It is not.
A lot of fat, a lot of oil, a lot of
cholesterol.
Yes.
That's why it's a nation that's like our biggest problem. High blood
pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. We love sweet and savory.
Yes.
Yeah, sweet and savory is our shit. So that has sugar. That's how we're making it sweets. No surprise there. And that is why we have all these health problems.
Yeah.
That's why you can't really eat Filipino food every day, which is kind of crazy to think that people are eating Filipino food every day.
I know. Honestly, it wasn't until I moved out of my parents that I realized how unhealthy Filipino food is, because first of all, it's just like life to me, it's just like, I just have to put food inside of me. So it wasn't until then I start to feel it, but I didn't realize it until I took Jackie to the Philippines, and Jackie started to feel horrible because he was just like, I'm not eating enough fiber. Because it's just like the things that we were eating is celebratory food, so it's just a lot of like, not a lot of vegetables, a lot of meats. So he was just like, dude, I need fiber. I don't feel good. I'm like,
also, he doesn't drink water.
I know, that's why. Hand in hand.
Yeah, you need to drink water.
Weather like that, like, it's just a recipe for
disaster, for sure. Natural disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what else did you learn in your Filipino food discovery or research?
Yeah. Nothing. I'm just kidding. But, we were just talking about health, and I think that's the thing too, when the Americans got there and they gave us like the canned goods, and we were just like talking about it and how in love we are of corned beef, and Spam is along those lines. And I think that's just like another dangerous thing that kind of entered like the Philippines, because like now people in poverty have something to eat, but also at the same time the nutritional value is also going down. So that's also just like the slippery slope a bit. And then Jackie was like telling me, it's like, so you're telling me that you like, this is what you ate a lot? Because like I just said earlier, I was a very picky child, so I ate a lot of Spam and corned beef. So I was just like, that makes sense why you're so malnutritioned. And I'm like, yeah, now in hindsight, it makes sense. Because like my grandma,
he called you malnutrition?
I don't know if he used that word. Maybe I used the word, because I was. Yeah. Probably was in the Philippines. I was like very skinny. I didn't do a lot of sports. It's like, being inactive and eating unhealthy foods all at the same time is just
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And my mom said it too. I was like a very sickly child growing up. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You're not getting
nutrients.
Nutrition, baby.
Yeah. That's where you get your health. That's what drives your health, is nutrition. So Filipino food, while I do love it so much, I do have to make either some substitutions or additions, or I have to eat in moderation. I feel like as a kid, I felt like I could eat as much as possible because the taste is so freaking good. But you really have to be moderate in your serving and how much you're eating because it's not the best.
It's not the best
for your health. Unfortunately, but it is the best for your soul. We don't believe in that. It's just gonna whisper.
I know.
That's creepy.
You already know.
I know, but it will nourish your enjoyment in life.
Yeah. So definitely indulge once in a while. Experience the culture.
Yes.
Relive it if you've experienced it already. Just keep in mind of your overall health, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's also key.
And that's it for today's episode. Peace.
Bye.
No, but really watch out in the future. We're going to open up a restaurant. We love to cook. We love to share. We love to learn about our culture. So stay tuned in a couple years.
I know, right?
I know. We'll be opening up a restaurant. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much for this episode.
Yeah, we can always dive into this. Maybe we could talk about a specific dish next time.
Yeah, if you want. Please say some recommendations. If you're Filipino and you're like, bitch, you missed something.
And
it's my favorite dish.
And
I'm sure we did because all the dishes we talked about, that's not all that we eat in the Philippines. So, yeah. Also, if you have great dishes that you want to share, email to perfectpodcast@gmail.com. I like to try new recipes.
Yeah.
But if you like this content, share it with your friends and family. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Peace out.